Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fandomology, where fandoms collide. I guess you can call me for this stream Don Paulione. Yes, that is a bad pun. The Godfather of Fandomology.
Paleone.
Yeah. With my consigliere, I think I said that right, Lord Krit. And tonight we are, of course, going to be talking about The Godfather. And honestly, this has been a long time coming because this has been one of those movies that has been on my to-do list for the channel pretty much since the beginning of the list. And it's taken nearly 2 years, over 2 years now to get to it, but here we are. So this is just part 1 we're going to talk about tonight. We will, of course, do a separate stream talking about part 2 once Krit and I have watched that. Stay tuned for that.
And we do not need to do part 3.
Okay, that is fine. All right, so would you say it's a fair statement to say, Krit, that this is probably the king of all mob movies?
Yes. It is. It's the one that defined the genre. It also defined the acting because of Marlon Brando.
Mm-hmm.
But it is the I would say it is the Godfather of all mafia movies, so to speak. So.
You're right. So going into this movie, here's what I knew. I knew that Marlon Brando was in this movie because this arguably was his biggest role ever as Vito Corleone, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. See, before this, the only exposure that I ever had to Marlon Brando was Jor-El in the Superman series. And, he did a great job there, but he does even better as Corleone. And I knew that there was, of course, multiple Godfather movies, and that most people considered Godfather 2 one of the best sequels of all time. I almost said better than the first one, but I stopped myself because we haven't seen that one yet. But beyond that, that's really all that I knew. And so going into it, someone's in the chat here. Hello in the chat to JT, who's saying, I am a surgeon.
Mm-hmm. Don't wear it out.
Yep. But anyways, that's really all I knew about this movie going into it. And yeah, this was just overall a great movie to sit down and watch. Now, it is a long movie. Like, it took me and Krit 3 sittings to get through it, but it is well worth the time to go out and watch it.
Have you? I've watched the complete epic, which is it's a chronological movie edit of The Godfather that takes both parts, part 1 and 2, and combines it with a lot of deleted scenes. I think that movie alone is 8 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Like, it begins with the flashback scenes from part 2, and then it continues with the Godfather part 1, and then it ends with the Godfather part 2.
Yeah, if you have a link to that, send that to me, because that sounds like an interesting watch right there.
I would, yeah. It's I don't know. It used to be on HBO, which is where I watched it one time. I don't know if it's on Max, but it's not like a fan thing. It's official and complete epic. So complete means it was part 1 and part 2.
They didn't include part 3?
No, because that movie didn't need to be made.
Right. And then, of course, hello to Blazerhawk Darren, and I'm going to do my best voice here. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Yeah.
But thanks for coming in.
Oh, well, you never played the Godfather video game. I have.
Wait, there was a video game?
Yes, you can't buy it. Well, it, yes, and it was pretty good. It was a pretty good video game.
What did it release on?
I played it on PC. I wonder if it's on archive.org because it's an EA game. So it was when EA was good. And it was kind of like it wasn't necessarily a GTA clone. But it had some like elements. I mean it might be a game you might like to stream. It's not as violent as Grand Theft Auto, but it was
I
kind
think I
of an
found it right here.
interesting. Yeah, this is it. But I don't know where you can really find that game. At, maybe at GameStop or well, I think it's more of a PC game, so it'd have to be. It would have to be. And Marlon Brando, before he passed away, I think he did do voice lines, but yeah, he did play Don Corleone in that game. They got a lot of the old actors back for that game.
Good.
They got Tom Hagen. They got Robert Duvall. They got Jimmy Can, Sonny. They didn't get. They couldn't get Al Pacino's likeness or his voice, so his son is kind of just some generic mobster, just doing the lines. So, but
that's a shame.
it's the closest. Yeah, it's a fun video game. You would think the tie-in video game, but I remember playing it. So
yeah,
they also did the Godfather Part 2, but I didn't play that. I only played the first one.
Okay, so let's go ahead now and get into the story. And with that, you actually found the game. So download this and you'll be able to get the whole thing.
Yeah, it should be like a CD.
Okay. Should we send that to everyone or just keep it to us?
I would just keep it to us.
All right. And then Darren saying, "Don't ask me about my business."
Seems like reading the comments, it seems like you need a patch and a no CD patch.
Okay. So, this might have to be something we look at
in
offline.
Discord. Yeah.
But anyways, though, the movie starts on the day of Godfather, Vito Corleone's daughter's wedding. And he's meeting with different Italian people from the community that are coming to him asking for help with different things. In fact, I forget what the guy's name is, but he's a funeral director.
Bonacera.
Bonacera. That's right. Yes. He comes to Corleone asking for help because his daughter got assaulted by some men that left her in the hospital just completely busted up and, worried that she's lost her beauty. And so Bonacera comes to him saying, "Hey, these guys hurt my daughter and I want you to kill them for me as justice." And I like one of the first things that Vito Corleone says when Bonacera mentions that he went to the police first. And Corleone almost acts offended at that, saying, "Well, why didn't you come to me first? I would have gotten things done." And then he thinks about it, and of course he says, "I can't have these guys killed because that's too far for what's going on here. That's not justice. That's escalation, basically." And basically accuses Bonacera of only coming to him for a favor, not wanting friendship. The famous line, "But this isn't the first time you've come to me for a favor. When was the last time you ever came here for a cup of coffee?" or something like that. But eventually they work something out where um, the guys that jumped Bonacera's daughter will get beaten up by some of the Corleone guys. But then Bonacera is going to have to owe Vito a favor, which they accept. And then the scene changes to a very, very lavish, Italian style wedding. And it's very nice to see. They got pretty much a full band, like with strings and brass and all that playing for everyone. Everyone's taking turns singing traditional Italian folk music. And of course, while all of this is going on, Corleone is still meeting with more people. He meets with the guy that baked the cake for the wedding. And at some point, he even meets with a guy who's like a famous singer who's trying to get a part in a movie that he got denied. And I like this. And I like how he's just so feeling sorry for himself, being like, I don't know what I'm going to do, Godfather. I don't know what I'm going to do. And Corleone's like, dude, shut up. Stop whining about this. But fine, I'll help you. Yeah. And of course, while all that's going on, it's here that we meet Michael. Well, I almost want to say Michael is the main character, but then again, this is kind of one of those movies where there's more than one real main character, wouldn't you say?
Well, I think this is primarily Michael's story, so.
Right. And we first meet Michael. This is set, the movie starts in the year 1945, and it goes all the way to 1955. But here in 1945, he is an Army lieutenant that has just gotten out of World War II, and he's here to attend his sister's wedding, and he brought his date along, and his date, she's enjoying herself, but she's also noticing a few, I guess you could say, interesting quirks about the crowd around them. Like, for example, she notices this one guy named Luca that's sitting there basically rehearsing a speech to Corleone saying, Don Corleone, thank you for allowing me into your home. Like he's super duper nervous. And of course, Michael goes into the backstory of how Corleone and Luca know each other, how basically they helped each other out, things like that. And of course, along the way, we meet other people like Santino, who is the oldest child of Corleone, and then the middle child, Fredo. And not only is this, a mob family, but the actual Corleone family, you can tell that they are a very close-knit bunch. And Vito values spending time with his family. He even says it to the one singer dude. Any man that doesn't spend time with his family isn't a true man, which is very, very applicable to real life.
I would say, even though he's a criminal, Vito Corleone is probably the most respectable person in this movie.
Exactly. Like it at least seems like he doesn't hide anything. He makes his stance on things very well known, which, as we'll see later, comes back to bite him. But he's a criminal, but he's a stand-up guy. And he is easily the best character of the whole movie. And of course, we meet other people like Tom Hagen, who is the advisor. I'm not going to try saying that Italian word again. Please don't shoot me, Phil.
Consigliere.
Thank you.
Consigliere. Well, I mean, it's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Consigliere.
Basically, he's the advisor from outside of the family, and he is sent out to California to meet with this one movie studio head to negotiate for the singer dude to get a role in the part. And we get, in a very excellent scene of foreshadowing, the dude showing Mr. Hagen his horses and showing one that he's very, very proud of, worth about $600,000 in, of course, 1945 money. And over dinner, ultimately, the studio dude angrily says, "No, I will not sign this guy to my movie because he screwed around with one of my girls and basically caused her to run away." And
You
so,
find they deleted a lot of scenes from the movie, and I read the book too, so I know a lot.
okay.
Um, but the movie producer was actually a creep, and he was actually doing casting couches with.
Oh, okay.
the they yeah um
So, okay, so yeah, with that little bit of extra context, yeah, that makes it even more shocking. But what ultimately ends up happening to him earlier in the movie, Corleone, he gives the classic line, "I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse." And the offer that he can't refuse is, okay, you don't want to put my guy in your movie. I'm going to decapitate your prize horse and leave its head bleeding all over your bed with you sleeping in it. And
well,
it's
that guy, if you learn more about that movie producer, he deserved it. So
Yeah. And it's funny, when I first saw that scene and saw him covered in blood, I thought, I was pretty much taking it a little bit too much at face value. And I thought, oh, wait, he's the one that's bleeding. But no, it's the horse, which is more disturbing, basically. But overall, we get throughout the course of the movie, and a lot, like I said, this is a long movie and a lot happens. So I'm going to kind of speed through it a little bit. But we just get more insight into the inner workings of the Corleone family. We learn that they have business interests in gambling and in politics. Like there's certain politician friends that are friends with Corleone, and how there is another family out there, the Tattaglia family, that is looking to get into narcotics, and they want some of they basically want some protection politically, and I'm sure muscle too, from the Corleone family as they get into this. And so they have a sit down meeting. A guy named Salazzo from the Tattaglia family, and they meet with Corleone's.
oh
And
no. Salazzo was his own guy. He was a drug baron that was like, hey, we got drugs, you want to get in this new business? And a lot of the
oh,
families were getting into it. He was kind of bad scum,
okay,
influencing other families. Yeah, yeah.
okay, so I was wrong. I thought he was
Tatalia,
outright
yeah.
working for him.
No, no. It was a partnership because that guy was supplying the goods,
Okay, that makes
and
sense then.
Corleone didn't trust that guy because that guy. Well, he wasn't trusted anyway because. Well, continue.
Right. But yeah, basically, Salazzo makes his offer saying, "Hey, we'll get you in on this business. We'll give you a piece of the action. Here's what we need from you." And after thinking about it for a bit, Corleone ultimately says no, that he doesn't think that getting into the narcotics business long term is a good idea, especially for his family. Like he thinks not only would it bring his family ultimately to ruin because a lot of his political friends would see, hey, you're dealing in narcotics, and they, turn tail and run, but that it could possibly bring down all of the New York crime families. And so basically he says no, and the meeting ends, and that basically starts a war between between the Tattaglias and the Corleones. Now you're gonna have to help me. You're gonna have to help me figure this one out, Krit. You just said that Salazzo was his own guy. How does that make it a war between the Tattaglias and the Corleones?
Because, well, that's actually a good question. Well, I think it was because Corleone. Well, Corleone, he had the most access to the corrupt judges and police, and he wasn't interested in making deals with. Actually, I am gonna look this up.
Okay. While you do that, I'll go ahead and explain what happens. Where basically, um, Corleone tells Luca covertly, "Hey, I want you to go to the Tatalias and to
Okay,
Salazzo."
it says
Oh,
here. It says here. Don Corleone didn't want to be involved in the narcotics trade. That was Salazzo's specialty and what he was trying to get Corleone to join. He needed Corleone's bribe. Okay, so I was right. He needed Corleone's bribed judges and police officers to protect his drug distributors. Corleone was suspicious because he knew Salazzo needed them and knew that Salazzo wouldn't give up the drug racket.
right. So that all leads to, first off, Corleone telling Luca Brasi, "Hey, go infiltrate these guys, pretend like you want to join them, and find out what you can for me." So Luca does that and ends up getting a knife stabbed right through his hand, pinning him down to a table, and then a guy sneaks up behind him with some wire and strangles him. And you see the whole process. Like, you see his eyes bug out, you see his face turn purple, you see it all. Like, this, it's not the most graphic movie by far, but it's got its graphic moments, and we'll get to one especially graphic moment later. But not only does that happen, but at least the way the movie frames it, that same day, Corleone.
Okay, I looked into it more. So it wasn't Salazzo. There was someone behind it all. But we'll get into it because they do reveal that. So
Oh,
someone was
that's
behind it
right.
all.
I remember now.
So
Okay.
Salazzo did have someone. Yeah, there was a mastermind behind all this Salazzo stuff. It wasn't just Salazzo.
Okay.
Well, we know who it is, so we'll continue.
Right.
You know.
Well, again, maybe the book tells it differently, but the movie frames it, at least to me, like this happens the same night, where Corleone is on his way home from somewhere. He stops over by a fruit stand, and he doesn't realize it, but he's getting surrounded by these rival mob guys that basically gun him down and shoot him like 6 different times in the back. And miraculously, he survives that, but of course, he's in a coma and he has to get rushed to the hospital. While that's going on, Salazzo kidnaps Tom Hagen and holds him hostage, basically saying, "Listen, I want you to go back to the Corleone family and tell them to basically accept my offer." Insinuating, of course, that if they don't, things are just going to get worse. So Santino, now that his father is in the hospital, takes over running the mob. And Michael one night goes to check on his dad and finds that there's no guards posted outside his dad's room, realizing that someone could possibly come to the hospital to finish the job. He has a nurse move his dad to another room, and then the baker dude who made the cake for the wedding, he ends up just showing up out of nowhere. And so Michael and him have to basically post themselves up outside of the hospital, pretending like they have guns, in order to scare the rival mob people away. And that works, but Michael is ultimately arrested and roughed up by a police officer on the payroll of Salazzo. And again, this is something you're probably going to have to help me understand a little bit better, Krit. Was it at this point that Michael was still not officially part of the family business, but when he shot the dude later on, he did? Or was he always a part of the family business, even when he was in the military? because I could believe in, especially in World War II era, I could believe that the mob had connections directly to the military, due to some people either enlisting or officers.
Um, well, I think Michael wanted revenge for his father, the corrupt police chief and Salazzo. He basically decided to join the family business. So
Right. And so basically, when Michael gets home, he's talking to everyone that's part of the group, and they all come to the consensus that Salazzo and the corrupt cop need to die. And Michael, since technically at this point he's still what they consider a civilian, not part of the family business, he be the one to do it. So the plan is for one of the Corleone family's most dependable guys, Clemenza, I believe his name is.
yeah,
He would basically plant a gun in this restaurant where Michael would go and get it, and then assassinate pretty much at point blank range Salazzo and the cop, which that's exactly what happens. However, because because Michael is now wanted for murder, he's got to go run away to Sicily. And it wasn't exactly clear to me exactly how much time passes, but several years do pass, and of course his girlfriend is wondering where he is. No one will sell anything. Meanwhile, Michael falls in love with another girl and ends up marrying her, not saying a word to his current girlfriend in America. And,
well, he
and
couldn't. He was hiding in Sicily.
right, which I'm going to go ahead and ask this now. I'm sure this is spoilers, but does that ever get addressed in part 2 with his wife?
Well, no, I'm not gonna say anything. Besides, I haven't watched part 2 in a while, so
All right, fair enough. But yeah, basically, the wife that he marries in Sicily ends up getting blown up. It's not exactly, it wasn't exactly clear to me who did it, but
it was
clearly
one of his friends got paid off by a family member.
right. Meanwhile, while this is going on, Santino is getting into something of a rivalry with the dude that married his sister, who is very abusive at home to his wife, who is, of course, expecting their child. And we get this scene where they're freaking out on each other, and she just cannot take it anymore, and she just starts trashing the whole house. But of course, he takes the belt off and starts beating her with it, which causes her to run away. She gets in touch with Santino, and Santino, who has already had to deal with this guy once before, gets enraged, and he goes to try and find him, which leads him to what looks to be a toll gate, and it's a trap where a bunch of different guys, I'm going to assume from the Tattaglia family, basically gun him down right there. And this is probably the most graphic scene here, wouldn't you say?
About, could you
When
repeat that?
when Santino gets gunned down at that toll gate.
Yeah, yeah. And then the Godfather he's healed now from the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's when he wants to just end all the war and stuff like that that's going on.
Right. So while of course this is going on, the Godfather, as you said, does get better and he recovers, but he doesn't recover 100%. You can tell that he is still, that basically his age has caught up to him, and he's not going to be around for much longer. And so after Santino, by the way, hello to Rod's Reels, who says, "Hey, y'all listening on TV, great movie choice. Thank you." He calls up Bonacera in a nice connection to the very beginning. He calls up Bonacera, says, "Listen, it's time for you to cash in that favor I need of you. I'm bringing you my son's body. I want you to make him look presentable for the funeral." Quote, "I don't want his mother to see him like this. Look how they massacred my boy."
There's a deleted scene. I kind of wish we watched the complete epic, but there's a deleted scene where Bonsanero is like, "Oh, I regret doing this. What is he gonna bring? Dead criminals or something? Get dead gangsters?" And basically, he was afraid of what was gonna happen because of
Right.
the Godfather's reputation. But it kind of adds to the scene. That when he finds out that the Godfather brought his dead son there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So they have the funeral, and of course, we get that big meeting between all of the heads of the families that Vito attends, with the head of the Tattaglia family and other families, including the Barzini family. And they all somehow come to an agreement that the war is over. We don't want to fight anymore. But Michael disagrees with this. And of course, we get this one scene where Vito is playing with one of Michael's children in the garden. And it's a very nice scene until Vito starts having a really, really bad coughing fit and collapses in the garden and dies. And so we have, of course, the big funeral scene for Vito. Michael is now the head of the family. Well, he already was, because Vito retired and basically handed it off to Michael. But now Michael truly is the head of the family at this point, as far as surviving members.
yeah.
And Tom tips off Michael saying, "Hey, listen, one of our guys is going to try and sell you out to Barzini."
No, it was the Godfather himself. He made a prediction.
Yes.
He was like, whoever comes to you with a meeting to Barzini, you're gonna get assassinated.
Mm-hmm. And come to find out, it was this one older guy played by Abe Vigoda, who, funny enough, do you want to know the first time I ever heard of him?
Was it Good Burger?
It was Good Burger. Specifically, the Nostalgia Critics review of Good Burger. So since they're making a new one of those, we need to watch that at some point.
Yeah.
But this guy that Abe Vigoda plays, his name is Tessio. They make a big deal of how they thought it was going to be Clemenza that sells out Michael, but it was actually Tessio. But come to think of it, it actually makes sense, because Tessio was always the smart one. And of course, Tessio tries to get Tom to get him out of it. Tom's not willing to. And yeah, Abe Vigoda is taken away, and we really don't know
you
what
forgot
happens to him.
Did you mention the baptism?
I was about to. Because I believe that happens after this scene, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It happens before.
Right. And hello in the chat to Jedi Mike. Thanks for coming. Anyways, though, the big finale to this movie is Michael goes to his sister and his brother-in-law's baby dedication, where his nephew gets baptized, and Michael is named Godfather to his nephew. I'm assuming nephew. And while this is going on, Michael has different people sent out to assassinate pretty much everyone that is a rival to the Corleone family, at least in Michael's eyes. Everyone from Barzini to Tattaglia to everyone. And then immediately after the baptism, and see, well, let me back up a little bit. It's funny, all of this is happening, and yet Michael is reciting, the normal recitation of a Catholic, baptism, baby dedication ceremony, saying things like,
Kind of
I renounce
haunting.
Satan. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you could
it's
say,
discordant in a beautiful way, you could say.
you could say, you know, I don't. Well, saying one thing, you crossing your fingers, like maybe he is the devil, or I don't know how to like word that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's kind of ironic in a way. Uh, the best way I can put it.
Yeah. So immediately after this, Michael meets with his brother-in-law and holds him accountable for the part that he played in killing Santino, which ends, excuse me, with Michael basically lying to his face, saying, "Don't worry, I'm not going to kill you. I wouldn't make
He
my
was
own sister a widow,
he was
but you're out of
pushing
the
him.
family."
He was pushing him to confess to it because he knew him and his dad, his father knew that he was behind the killing.
Right. But of course, Michael goes back on his word and does have him killed, strangled in the back of a car. She is absolutely hysterical about it. But of course, Michael's wife was there to witness his sister be all hysterical, accusing him of murdering her husband. And Michael tries to dodge the questions of, did you do it? Did you do it? But ultimately, he just says, okay, fine, you can ask me about my business just this once. And then lies, saying, no, I didn't do it. And then his wife, in the very last shot of the movie, leaves the room, and she looks back and sees all the surviving mob members acknowledging Michael as, quote, Don Corleone, the same title held by his father. And that sets up part two pretty much perfectly. So I was a little bit surprised that it ended there, but at the same time, I think it was a good ending. What about you?
Yep. It's well, no, I was it's a great ending in my opinion.
It is. So overall, it was a really good and well told story. And again, I didn't know that there was a book. I thought that these were just movies. So where can I find this book, Krit?
Um, well, let me see. The Godfather. Well, it was based on a book. Mario Puzo, who also wrote the Superman movies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Actually, I think it was because he got Superman because of the Godfather.
Right.
Um, I mean, they have a copy of it on Barnes and Nobles. Did you want a copy of it?
Yeah, I would like a copy
Yeah,
of it
here you
actually.
go. There's a lot of. I read the audiobook and it's really good, but I kind of get annoyed when, for some reason, he likes to describe Sonny having an affair with his mistress in detail, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the only parts of the book I was like, okay, come on. His girth, really? Do I need
Huh.
to hear this or read this? But
Right.
I still think it's a great book, although I think the movie's better. But it's
Yeah.
kind of the same. It's kind of the same, so it doesn't matter. So.
But yeah, overall, it was really good, and I would 100% watch it again. Specifically, I want to watch the epic version that you're talking about. In fact, I probably, if I can find a copy of it between now and when I get on vacation, I'll probably watch it going down the road. But with that, let's transition now into talking about the characters. And let's start with Michael, played, of course, by Al Pacino. Now, this is the first movie that I'd heard of Al Pacino before, but I had only heard of him in Scarface, which, of course, I have never seen. So this is the first movie of Al Pacino's that I've actually seen. And right off the bat, there's no bad actors in this movie, but he is a good actor and plays the part of Michael Corleone really well. But overall, just what did you think of the character of Michael and how he transformed from this honorable American war hero to this heartless head of a crime family?
Well, he's kind of the tragic hero, or you could call him a villain. He's the opposite of what he wants power. Okay, he goes from a regular guy Marine to wanting power, and or that's more in Godfather Part 2, but
Right.
It's kind of not, I wouldn't say put in his hands, but
However he got it. He got a taste of power and wanted more. So I think it was good, but I like that phrase that you use, a tragic hero. Like I would almost equate his downfall to that of Anakin. Now, granted, two different reasons for the fall, but kind of the same progression where they both start out as very honorable, at least talking only about Revenge of the Sith here. They both start out as very honorable and celebrated war heroes, but as the movie progresses, their life just takes a darker and darker and darker turn until they're feared. They're a feared, powerful being. Do you think that's a fair comparison?
yeah, I would say.
Okay. And then, of course, the other powerhouse performance we got to talk about. We've already mentioned it, but Marlon Brando as Don Corleone. He is the face more so than um, Al Pacino. Marlon Brando is the face of the Godfather movie. He's on every box art. He's of course who I used for the thumbnail of this stream. When people think the Godfather, they think Don Corleone, and it is well deserved because, like I said, there's no bad actors in this movie. But if you had to narrow down to one that is just the out and out best, easily Marlon Brando as Don Corleone, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
And again, just the way he's written, the way he's acted was perfect, where he was written and performed as this, he's powerful. In fact, I think the best way I could say it is he is the perfect embodiment of the classic Theodore Roosevelt line, speak softly but carry a big stick, where he talks like this, he's very soft-spoken, literally, but at the same time he hardly ever raises his voice, and he talks calmly, rationally, and yet people still fear and respect him because they know the power he wields socially. And Marlon Brando put that forth incredibly well with his performance. What do you think? Is there anything that I missed?
Nope. You summed it up perfectly.
Yeah. Like, it's a shame that he dies because I want to see more of him. He is that good. And I know we're going to see Robert De Niro playing a younger version of him in part 2. But Robert De Niro is not, he's a good actor, but he is not Marlon Brando.
You've not seen the movie yet. I would not. I don't know why you would rush to that conclusion, but
All right, fair enough.
I'm just saying, you already made your judgment without
All
seeing the
right, all right.
movie.
Hey, I'm ready. I'm ready and willing to be proven wrong here. But anyways, another character to talk about is Santino, the oldest child and the one who takes over the family when Vito is incapacitated. What'd you think of him?
I thought he was brash and he was kind of brash, but I don't think he was bad. So
Yeah, I agree. I think he had a good heart, but he was way, way, way too hot headed, and ultimately that's what cost him his life. And it's funny, we see really three different styles of leadership between the three different characters that take the mantle of head of the Corleone family. We have, again, Vito, who is the calm, cool, and collected guy who is looking out. Well, all three of them are looking out for the best interest for their family, but he's the guy that isn't looking to start any sort of trouble. He deals with people with honor and respect, and yet if you slight him, you'll pay for it. Then you have Santino, who is trying to be like his father, but is way too hot headed for his own good and is easily provoked to violence. And then you have Michael, who's cold and calculating and does not, at least by the end of the movie, seem to have the same heart that his dad and his brother does. Is that a good summation of
yeah,
that?
yeah, it's good.
And then the rest of the characters, I mean, those are really the only three that I can think of, at least right now, to harp on. I know there's still Fredo, and we really haven't talked about him. I know he's going to be in part 2. And I will admit, there is one scene in part 2 that I have kind of had spoiled for me. It's the scene at this party where Michael kisses Fredo on the lips, saying something to the effect of, "I knew it was you, Fredo." I'm guessing alluding to some form of betrayal, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And I'm sure we'll see more of Fredo in general in part 2, so we'll talk about him when we get to that. So that's all that I can think of to talk about with this movie. Is there anything you got?
I mean, not really. You summed it up well. I would try out the video game. Definitely, I'm gonna look for the complete epic because I can't find it either. So,
Okay. I mean, I'm sure at the very least on like YouTube or heck, even Archive, people have made fan edits of it.
there is an official version out there
Oh, okay.
that I've watched on HBO.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so there is something out there. But I kind of wish they have released it in like so and so.
They never released it in physical media, did they?
No, they only they did back in the '90s. It was a mini series like edit on VHS. And
Okay.
it had all the deleted scenes. It had everything. It was big. Like I
Ooh,
said, I think it was like 9 hours.
I was about to say, I think I had found it on Amazon Prime, but then it's like, we're sorry, this is not available right now.
Let's see here.
Yeah, I wish it was. Like, I'm trying to find it too, and I can't find it.
I think I might have found it. I know Showtime selling a bootleg version. I've bought from them before, thanks to Coffee on Korriban.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'll just send you that link if you feel like Um, yeah, me and Coffee have used this website before, so
Okay.
there is a reputation to it. So.
DJ Ronnie G, by the way, hello, says, I love Daniel Day Kim on Crusade and Voyager.
He's talking about my avatar.
Wait a minute. So that's you're Ensign Kim right now? That's who that is?
Daniel Day Kim. It's an actor.
Oh, but wait a minute. I thought you were talking about Harry Kim on Voyager, played by this guy.
Harry Kim. Daniel Day Kim doesn't play Harry. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. Well, I sent you the link there, so there is a way you can watch it, but
okay,
it's a purchase. But
all right, thanks. So, anyways, we're gonna go ahead and end the stream for the night. So, we will watch part 2 and have it reviewed. In fact, tell you what, can we have part 2 watched and ready to review by next? Wait, hold on. Let me double check my calendar here. Okay, so next Sunday, I'm doing a discussion on the Mario series with some of my friends from TDK. So let's do this. I'm not doing anything Saturday the 16th. So can we have part 2 watched by Saturday the 16th when we review it?
yes, we could probably do it Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, whatever you want.
Okay.
I will say I like part 2, and a lot of people, some say, well, you might have an opinion, is it superior than the first one? I kind of like the first one the best.
Yeah.
But I'll just leave you to it. You could think Godfather Part 2 is the best thing ever. So, but
we'll see what happens. I will say though, having not yet seen it, it's got a high bar to meet as far as being potentially better.
Oh, I think it'll meet that high bar. It just depends on what you think is better.
Right. All right. Well, anyways, we're going to go ahead and shut it down for the night. So thank you guys so much for watching.
Where does Godfather land on your list?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, let me grab the list real quick. So let me bring it up. All right. So real quick, I'll just give everyone a quick refresher on where everything is. So these are the movies in great movie, ! These are the movies that are the best of the best. These are just solidly good movies. Good movies, but not my thing. Meh movies. Guilty pleasures. I pretty much only made this for Star Trek V. And then total trash, with Rubber getting its own category. Okay, so it's going to go in great movie. And, oh boy. Darren says, I can assume it's better than Caddyshack 2. Oh, night and day. Godfather. Well, I could say that, but it wouldn't be PG. It wouldn't. It would break my no rule.
I think I found a worse movie than Caddyshack 2 for you to watch.
Don't give Phil ideas.
RoboCop 3. If you're listening, Phil, we gotta force Paul to watch RoboCop 3.
Okay, so I know for a fact it's going to go in the great movie section. I'm just trying to decide. Actually, I'll tell you what. I'm going to do this. I'm going to move Alita Battle Angel down one spot. Below It's a Wonderful Life. And I'm going to put Godfather Part 1 at the top.
Whoa, Godfather at your top of your list?
Yes.
That's the highest bar I've seen. Wow. It topped Alita and It's a Wonderful Life. Wow.
It did.
Okay. Wow, that blew my mind. Okay, well, if only Predator could actually get in a good movie category.
It's funny you say that, Krit. I was on Tim's talk earlier this morning, and there's this one guy that I met there. His name's Leon, and he actually explained where my thinking was wrong on Predator, where a lot of people apparently make this mistake of I went into the Predator movie looking at it from the frame of an action movie. And by the way, hello to the legendary Tron. Apparently, you're supposed to watch Predator as a horror movie.
It's not a horror movie. It's a science fiction film. That person got wrong too. No, the whole thing, Paul, is that it's tricking you that it's some generic 80s movie until it hits you that it's a sci-fi movie. That's kind of why that movie works a lot. It's because you think you're watching a cool, like, or not cool, just a average 80s action movie with Arnold. But boom, there's an alien there, and it's like, what? Oh, whatever.
Okay.
This is Godfather stream. It's not about the Godfather.
All right. Well, I'm still kind of on the fence, though, as to whether or not I want to give Predator a third chance. Because I do want to try and see it from your point of view.
Well, I think you gave King Kong a bad score because you thought it was an environmental movie.
I remember that. The way you freaked out on that was, I didn't intend for that, but it was just so hilarious.
I'm like, well, no, I'm at a loss for words. But
where did I rank that one?
Let me put it low. We still need to watch.
Oh yeah, I put it in good movie, but not my thing.
We still gotta watch the original King Kong and some Godzilla. Also, the new Godzilla movie. There's also a series now, which is more of a sequel to the Bryan Cranston movie.
Is Godzilla going to be in that show?
I don't think Bryan Cranston. It's going to have Kirk Russell in it, which I think is interesting. And it's going to have connections to the John Goodman character from Kong Skull Island. I think it looks interesting. Yeah, I think it might. There's also the Toho Godzilla movie coming to cinemas. I don't know if your cinema is going to be showing it though, but it should be. If the one I think it's in December.
Yeah, if the one in my town isn't, I'm pretty sure any like the Regal Cinema across the mountain from me will probably have it. So I'll keep an eye out for it. But
yeah,
overall, go watch The Godfather if you haven't seen it.
Go watch The Godfather.
Well worth it. Just be prepared to invest at least 3.5 hours of your time. It is a long movie.
Yeah, well, Paul can invest himself in 9 hours from the complete epic with all the deleted scenes. I've seen the complete epic more than I've seen the theatrical, and I was like, there were some deleted scenes because I know when Tom Hagen goes into Walt's mansion, there was like a little girl there that was crying and running away and stuff. And there was also that scene I mentioned where the funeral director was complaining about what Corleone was going to bring, and they're like, "Oh, I should have never made a deal with him. I shouldn't."
Mm-hmm.
Kind of odd they cut those out. So,
yeah. Well, like I said, if I can get my hands on a copy of that, I'm going to watch the full thing all the way through. But anyways, guys, we're going to go ahead and shut this down for the night. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. And we will see you later.